Well, I'm sorry. Okay. Well, thanks for calling anyway.
Let's go live on Facebook here.
All right.
Hi, you guys, if
Yeah,
you
we'll
could
talk about all this later.
pray for the guys in the sub,
Yes, we have been. Yeah,
they have until tomorrow evening.
we run out of gas. Yeah.
Out of Alex.
What's that? I
Oxygen.
didn't,
Let me introduce everybody here, Derek. Hang on, y'all. Hello, this is Dr. Roger Paul, and we're live on Facebook. Welcome to our meeting. We'll get started in just a minute here. Let me go back here. Let's go ahead and go with our meeting, and we'll talk about all this other stuff later. You okay?
Yes,
All after the meeting. So we're all being recorded, just to let y'all know. Let's say a little prayer and we'll get started. Father, thank you for bringing us together tonight. Thank you for this wonderful opportunity to share your revelation with us. Pray that you'll open our hearts and minds that we might remember a little bit of it and share it with others and prepare us for what's coming for us in the future, in the mansion worlds. We thank you for the wonderful blessing of this revelation you've given us and letting us know what is to be expected. We thank you. We give you the praise in your son, Michael, Jesus of Nazareth. Amen.
amen.
Okay. Last time when we left, I was talking about the fourth item on the 7 experiential steps that all the creator sons have to go through. So when we go through this list, you have to remember that all 700,000 of the creator sons have to do the same thing. It's not just Jesus that did this. All of them have to do this. Okay. And we were talking about the 7 different things they have to accomplish for the 7 experiential steps in this process. And we were on number 4. And on number 4, we talked about how on the number 4, on each of the levels that they incorporate or they're bestowed in, they have to experientially portray a creature life that's an acme of perfection, okay, to the paradise deity and to all other universe intelligences. So this is everybody in their local universe. They have to demonstrate this too, right? So the next one is the one we're going to start with. And Diane, would you read number 5 for us, please?
Number 5. On each creature level, experientially, to reveal one phase of the sevenfold will of deity to the bestowal level and to all the universe. That it?
Yep. Yep. Okay, so the 4 and 5 look a lot alike, but they're different. Okay, on number 4, they're demonstrating the acme of a creature life to the paradise deities and all the intelligences. Okay. On number 5, they're demonstrating one phase of the sevenfold will of the deity to the bestowal level of all of the universes. Now, what this means is this: they have to reveal one phase of the 7 different combinations of the will of deity, okay, to everyone will be watching these bestowals over time. Now, what we have to remember is everything is recorded. Nothing that goes on in the universe is not recorded. So that beings that will come over after us that aren't even born yet will be able to literally watch these recordings and experience this just like we have. Okay, so the information that we're learning here, they will learn in the future. Okay, so this has to be done in such a way that all beings on their way through the Paradise Ascension plan has to learn the same exact information, right? All right. He's got somebody at the door, I think. All right, let's go on to number 6. Gary, would you take number 6, please?
6. The experiential to unify the sevenfold creature experience with the sevenfold experience of consecration to the revelation of the nature and will of deities. You got me there.
Okay. basically what they're saying here is with each of the experiences, each one of the different types of bestowal that these creator sons go through, okay? What they're trying to do is reveal the experience of the creator son giving in basically to the will of that particular deity, which each one of them is going to be different because each one is a different combination of what? The Paradise Trinity, right? So for each experience, they have to try to reveal the nature and the will of the deity they're trying to emulate. Okay, so example of this: if a creator son was doing his experience of the bestowal of, let's say, an angel, for instance, right? That particular bestowal may be, depends on what order he goes in, may be the will of the infinite spirit instead of God the Father, right? So what he would try to do in that revelation is show the nature and the will of the infinite spirit, right? Just like Michael or Jesus, when he was on our planet, he was doing what? He was trying to show us the nature and the will of God the Father, right? That's why he constantly said over and over and over again, if it be my Father's will, right? Even when he healed people, it was what? If it's the will of the Father, right? Okay, let's go on to the next one, which is really interesting. Rodney, would you take number 7?
Yes, but I should comment. It's like the creator sons. They're thoroughly supreme, thoroughly sovereign.
Yes, they are.
A lot of stuff happening.
Well, remember, on the different levels that they're going through, though, they have not reached full sovereignty in their universe, have they?
No, but it's working for it.
It's working, yeah, it's working for them, but we have to remember the experience they get by going through these gives them the right to be called the sovereign of their universe, right?
I understand that.
They've experienced every type of being and living as every type of being, so they have the right to be the God of those beings. Okay, go ahead.
7, to achieve new and higher relationship with the Supreme Being. The repercussion of the totality of this creature experience augments the super universe reality of God the Supreme and the time-space sovereignty of the Almighty Supreme, and factualizes the supreme local universe sovereignty of a Paradise Michael. Okay,
this is a little more complicated, this one. Okay, because what they're trying to do in the 7th revelation, right, in the 7th step, is to basically achieve a relationship with the Supreme Being, which is the being right now that takes in all experience in all 7 super universes. And how do they do that? They do that through the 7th Master Spirit. Okay, so the importance of this is this. In doing this, these creator sons adds to the experience of the creature and creator together experience, which adds to the fruition eventually of God the Supreme, and eventually the Almighty Supreme into the future in the 7 outer space levels, right? But to understand this, we have to understand that the local sovereignty of a Paradise Michael depends on doing all these experiences, right? So the experiences of all of the 700,000 creator Michaels, the experience that they do by doing all 7 of these, and when they're done with all of these, that experience goes into God the Supreme, or the Supreme Being right now, right? So when all 7 super universes reach light and light, at that point, the Supreme Being becomes the sovereign of all 7 super universes. Because it's compounded, right? So the sovereignty of the Michaels remain in their own local universe, but the sovereignty of all 7 super universes comes under the jurisdiction of the Supreme Being at that point, when everything is finished. Now, it doesn't take away from the Michaels. It just makes Michaels part 1/700,000th of the whole. Makes sense? So all the rest of the 7 super universes becomes a unit within itself, just like right now, Havona is a unit within itself. Does that make sense?
I
If
understand.
you think about, if you think about Havona and Paradise, they are a unit separate from the 7 super universes. Always has been, always will be, right? They're on a level that's not only material, but they're on a level that it includes everything that has been and everything that will be forever, which is hard for us to imagine. So they're both absonite and absolute partly, right? So where will are just material. So when the 7 super universes settle in light and light, we will be 7 super universes of a material nature. Make sense? Because it's all planets, everything is material. It's material reality. But if we go up to the next level, the Urantia reality, it's on a totally different level, isn't it? It's a different scope. And the same is with a spiritual reality. So when you're talking about Havona, you're talking about a unit that's totally spiritual, right? Because that's what everything is when you get to Havona. Makes sense? So the reality of Havona is different than the reality of the Urantia. The reality of the Urantia is different than the reality of material. Now, where this comes in real important is this. When we look up into the skies, right, we see what planets, don't we? We
Stars,
see the material
stars,
reality.
suns.
Stars and planets. Okay. Not all that moves within these stars and planets is material, is it?
That's right.
It includes all the Urantia beings live on a material sphere, on a planet, even if it's a mechanical created planet, they still live on a physical sphere. Now, on these physical spheres is also what? Urantia existence, Urantia buildings, Urantia plants and animals, Urantia everything. Okay? But also included in many of these planets and mechanical spheres is also what? Spiritual. Right. So we have 3 different levels on most of these planets of reality, if you think about it. Right? Because we have the Urantia, the spiritual, and the material. Now, a good example of this is what? The 3-fold mansion on Salvington in which Michael dwells. It has what? It has material, it has Urantia, and it has spiritual. And he has earned the right to live in this beautiful thing, whatever it is, because he experienced all 3 already, right? Through these 7 steps. See how it all comes together? Makes sense? All right, let's keep going. We're going to actually get off this slide tonight.
Hmm.
Okay. Good questions here. Letch,
Hmm?
would you read this slide for me all the way through?
Okay.
The big question.
Why are there 7 super universes? Why are there 700,000 creator sons? Why are there at least 300,000 in reserve?
It's missing a zero there, but that's what it is, 300,000. Okay.
Yeah, I figured.
That's what we're going to try to answer in these slides. Okay. And you guys have all seen these slides, right?
Yeah.
Okay. 700,000. Why would God need 700,000 creator sons? Big
Oh,
question.
100,000 per super universe.
100. All right. So what we're talking about is what? This right here, these 7 super universes. Okay.
Mhm.
Inside, before we even get to those, there's paradise, the satellites of paradise, and the 7 rings of Havona, which is 1 billion planets. Okay. So the infinite son, the firstborn son, right, of God,
Eternal.
the eternal son, did his bestowal in the 7 rings of Havona. Okay. And we have to assume that if he, just like a creator son, if he did that, then he had what as a mate? The infinite spirit, experiencing all these bestowals. You follow me? So he was the first creator son, right? Now, whether he did that as an avatar or what, we don't know. They don't tell us. They just tell us he did it. So God the Father saw fit, along with God the Son, the Word, that they were going to create 7 super universes outside of Havona after they had done all this. So all this happened before the 7 super universes ever started, right? Because the first person from the 7 super universes did what? Came to the first ring of Havona. And that is when the eternal son started his what? 7 bestowals. So the 7 super universes had to been started at the time right before the eternal son did his bestowals. Make sense? So at the time of Grand Fonda, when the very first pilgrim from the very first super universe got to the first ring of Havona, that's when the eternal son did his bestowal on the rings of Havona, right? Why would that be? Because until the first being or pilgrim from the 7 super universes got to Havona, did they need the system of the 700,000 creator sons? No, there was no need for it before then, right? So Havona and paradise was in basically going billions and billions and billions of years before they even started to conceive of the 7 super universes.
Oh,
Follow me?
Roger, how did Grand Fonda get there if there was no universe to
Well,
come
that's
from?
what I'm saying. The reason that Grand Fonda could get there is because of the system of populating the 7 super universes. So basically, you got to think of it like this. God the Father and God the Son decided they wanted to populate 7 super universes. And why did they pick 7? Because each one of them would be the acme of the combination of the paradise trinity, right?
Oh, that's right.
One for God the Father, one for God the Son. Yeah, right. Down to the Father and the Son, the Father and the Spirit, the Son and the Spirit, and the combination of all 3, right? You with me still?
Yes.
Okay, so each one of the 7 super universes would be the revelation of the personality concept and the combination of the will of those deities, either 1 or 2 or all 3. Okay, so what did they need to do that? They needed a head for each one of the 7 super universes. And who was the head for each 7 super universes? Master spirit number 1 through 7. And these master spirits were domiciled on the satellites around paradise. Okay, so each one of these master spirits was assigned a super universe. And each one of these master spirits were assigned an executive that stayed on that planet all the time. So all the circuits from the infinite spirit from paradise would go out through these master spirits and all the circuits and would end up in one of the 7 super universes. Makes sense? Now, where'd the creator sons come in? For each one of these 7 super universes, and here they are, 7 super universes, right? For each one of these 7 super universes, there would be, let me go down here for a second, one Michael son for each one of the 100,000 of the local universes. And that's what we got right here. See this one here? 700,000 local universes. So they needed one Michael son for each and every one of them, right? Now that's how we get 700,000 Michaels. In each one of those is 100,000. If we look down here, for each one of those, there's 100,000 Michael sons. And I'm not going to belay this. Y'all can read these on your own. I'm going to go back up here. But you can look at it this way. For each of the 7 super universes, there are 10 major sectors. Okay. And so that's why we got 70 major sectors. Okay, 10 for each one. And that's the way it goes on with minor sectors, local universes, constellations. There's 100 constellations for each one. And then we eventually get down to the local systems, which ours is Satania, and then the inhabited planets. But this explains how we ended up with 700,000 Michaels. Okay. Now, I want to go back up here to a picture one more time. That's not where it ends. Okay. Being created out in the 4 outer space level rings is multiple of 7s of these 7 super universes. Okay. So with each ring, there's more and more of these large super universes. And guess what they need for each one of them? Michael sons, right? Because each one of the same size or bigger super universes, they're going to need Michael sons for each and every one of the local universes. And that's why there are 300,000 that we know of in reserve. And sometime in the future, probably God the Father and God the Son will create however many they need more for the first outer space level. Make sense? Now, does this take away from who Michael is? No, not at all, right? So look at it this way. This is John Byron's Journey to Paradise. It's a pretty good picture. Here's the 7 super universes, and here's paradise, and the rings of Favona followed around it. And inside of each one of these super universes are the major sectors, and inside of the major sectors are the minor sectors, and inside of the minor sectors are the local universes. Okay. And inside the local universe are the 100 constellations. And inside of that are the local systems, and we're part of this local system of Satania, which has 1,000 worlds eventually. Right now we have 619. We're number 606 of that group. Okay. And Earth, we're got our own little solar system, and we're part of that local system of Satania. And you can find this picture online. I put the slide on here under Cosmic Creations. You can buy this picture, $10, I think it is, if I remember correctly. Okay. Now, this is where we fit into the universe. Okay. I'm going to read this little blurb on the bottom. First, Urantia is our local universe. This is what Michael created, right? All right. I mean, I misstated that. Urantia is the name of our super universe. Nebadon is our local universe. Okay. Uversa is the capital of Urantia, our super universe. Okay, and that's where we'll end up. But this is where we fit in. It says your world, Urantia, is one of many similar inhabited planets which comprise the local universe of Nebadon. This universe, together with similar creations, make up the super universe of Urantia, from whose capital Uversa our commission hails. So the commission that started this, that's doing this revelation, hails from this satellite, Uversa. Okay. Urantia is one of the 7 evolutionary super universes of time and space, which encircle the never beginning, never ending creation of divine perfection, the central universe. Okay. Let's go on to the next thing. Let's you just read. Diane, would you just read for me, please, dear?
Paper 32, The Evolution of Local Universes. A local universe is the handiwork of a creator son of the Paradise Order of Michael. It comprises 100 constellations, each embracing 100 systems of inhabited worlds. Each system will eventually contain approximately 1,000 inhabited spheres.
So this explains that picture I just showed you where everything's inside of one another, right? Okay, so that's a bird's eye view of what everything looks like. Okay, and this is the slide we just went through just a second ago. Okay, it breaks down all the architectural spheres, the super universes, the major sectors, minor sectors, local universe constellations, like local systems, inhabited planets, etc., etc. Now, I want to bring up a point, and this talks about our system, our clusters, the whole 9 yards from page 485. I want to go back here for just a second and clarify one thing. When people start reading the Urantia book, they always ask the same question. If there's all these super universes and all this organization like you're talking about, why can't we see any of it? And what do y'all think the answer to that is?
That's way too big.
First, it's way too big. It's beyond human conception, really. Plus the fact that we are out here on the very edge of the super universe. I mean, you can't get out much. There's only one other planet, I think, 1 or 2 other planets that's out far, that's got people on it, that's out farther than we are. Okay. So when we look out one direction, what do we see? We see the first outer space level and all the developing super universes. Okay. When we look the other direction towards the Milky Way, we're looking back towards the center of everything. So if the Milky Way is out here, let's pretend that the Milky Way is the 7th super universe. Okay. So if it is, and we're way out on the edge, when we look back this direction towards the center of the Milky Way, we would be looking back towards paradise, right? So the only thing we would be able to see in our limited vision is the outer edge of this Milky Way galaxy, right? Of the millions and millions of stars. You follow me? And everything, we're looking at this kind of like we could see it on an angle. In reality, it's more of a flat oval. So we can only see the very edge of this, no matter how we look. If we shined our telescopes right through the center of the Milky Way galaxy, right to where Uversa supposedly is, you think we could see even Uversa? No. Number one, it's too far. And number two, there's too many things in the way for us to be able to visualize it. And there is no possible way we could see into the rings of Havona or Paradise, either one. Okay. That's the viewpoint we have. All right. That's why we can't see all this. Yeah.
But the way I think of it is that the reason we really can't see it is because it's sort of akin to a gigantic corporation. Unless you got an MBA or a PhD and studied the whole concept, you can't see it. You can't understand it. You know,
You
Very
can't see it,
similar.
you can't understand. That's exactly right, Letch. No matter what you try to do, you can't see it, can't understand it. So, brings me to a great point. What about all this UFO stuff that's going on? Does that affect any of this? Not in the least, does it? Because if
No.
there are UFOs flying around out here, the UFOs we would see would be what? The ones out here on the very edge, right? I mean, these would be civilizations that's way out where we are, or close to where we are, because they wouldn't be able to travel there in time. Even, okay, let me give you a good example of this. They talk about speed a lot in the Urantia book, about how different types of celestial beings can travel and how fast they can travel, right? And the closest thing they have to an instantaneous being that can go from paradise out to the edge of the universe is what? A mighty messenger, right? That's the closest being we got to being able to travel like that. So if you take all these theories about quantum physics, okay, and how they're talking about being able to bend the space-time continuum. You know what I'm talking about? I'm no physicist, but I understand the basics. We know that it's possible to travel at great distances in speed by literally molecularly folding space. Okay. The trouble is this: we assume because of Einstein's theory of relativity, we think we can also fold time. Okay. So when you fold the space-time continuum, the concept is you can travel from one spot to another instantaneously. You follow me? I've lost anybody yet? The problem is this. We know that if the celestial beings cannot travel instantaneously anywhere, there is some amount of time, no matter what technology we come up with, that has to go by for us to go from one spot to another. Even if there is such a thing as a black hole or a tube through space or any of that, you still use up some amount of time to travel from one point to another. Okay. If you listen to all the UFO enthusiasts, they've got this concept that we have developed technologies where we can go from here to there instantly. It's not instant. It still takes some time. Okay. They haven't figured that out, and they never will. Okay. That's my whole point. So all of this stuff we're talking about is not saying anything whatsoever against all these theories of what's going on around us. We're being revealed things right now that people for thousands of years would have done anything to learn, right? They really have. And we'll talk about some of that after the meeting tonight. But these things still do not affect the spiritual concepts that we're learning in this book. And that's why they gave us this book. It's a revelation. Okay? That's why these studies on Jesus and his real mission in coming to the planets and earth and all these bestowals is about spiritual concepts. It's not about what we're doing here, you know, physically to become UFO things and that sort of thing, right? Okay. So any questions on that before we move on to a new subject here?
Wow.
No, I know it's overwhelming. All right, Gary, would you take the next one, please?
You read this thing here.
Yeah, please.
These universes of time and space are all evolutionary. The creative plan of the Paradise Michaels always proceeds along the path of gradual evolution.
Evolve.
I can't say that doggone word. Someone say it.
Yeah. Gradual evolvement.
That's it.
Oh, evolutional. Yeah.
Gradual evolvement and the progressive development of the physical, intellectual, and spiritual natures and capacities of the manifold creatures who inhabit the various orders of spheres comprising such a local universe.
Okay, so all universes are evolutionary. In other words, they evolve just like we have over time. Okay, and it was the original plans of the Paradise Michaels that all the planets will go this way. Will all evolve over a period of time. No planet is created in perfection where, you know, when you're born, everything is hunky-dory, you know, everything's great. There's no problems, there's no strife, there's none of that. That doesn't happen in an evolutionary world. It happens in Havana and Paradise. Okay? That does not happen in the 7 super universe planets, not even in the mansion worlds. When we get to the mansion worlds, that will be probably our highest concept at that point of paradise. Why? Because it will seem like it's perfect, right? Because it's a created sphere and everything is meant to be perfect, right? But
it's
the plant,
as well.
it's still evolving too, but the planets are all evolving, every single one of them. So let's say there are UFOs out there and there are other civilizations on other planets. Guess what they're doing? They're evolving, right? All on different levels. They're going to be from people using clubs to kill their supper, up to people that are traveling through space at speeds that are inconceivable to us, right? And everything in between. So if there are other civilizations in space, once the quarantine is lifted, if it hasn't been already, once the quarantine's lifted and these other civilizations communicate with us, guess what's going to happen? We're going to run into civilizations that are on multiple levels of evolution, right? All right. I don't know who this is. I think I'll just decline the call here and hopefully they'll call back. All right. So these planets are all on different levels of evolution. Some of them can travel through space. Some of them can't. Some of them can't even travel down the street and back without taking a trip, you know, putting everything on their back. Think of the time of Jesus. When he wanted to go to Jerusalem, what did they do? They had to take all their food, everything, all the water, everything they needed, put it on their back and their donkey, and then he went on a trip for 3 or 4 days to get there, right? That's the way it is. That's an evolutionary planet. Okay, and it also says here that they're on a gradual evolvement. What does that mean? In other words, they're evolving just like the planet is evolving. Progressive development of physical, right? Look at the development on this planet in the last 100 years, right? All the machines we've come up with. Think of the way people traveled 200 years ago. They did it on horseback and donkey, and they walked, and that was about it, right? But now we zip across the country in nice cars, right? And vans and trucks, fly through the air in planes, right? And according to what's going on right now, we may be zipping through the sky soon in zero gravity machines that are electromechanical that break the sphere around it so it can travel without any problem whatsoever. That's the sound barrier will be nothing to it, right? The electromechanical, the magnetic field is disrupted, and you start to move in the quantum field, right? So you can move just almost without time, okay? And then they're on different intellectual and spiritual development points, aren't they? Think of our own planet in the last 2,000 years, right? When Jesus came to the planet, people barely believed in God. The reason they took the Jewish faith as the faith to put Jesus into a Jewish family is because the Jewish faith believed in God the Father. One of the few that did, right?
And one deity.
Now look at, one deity, right? And then Jesus comes along and says, I'm the Son of God. He literally is God, right? Incarnate. You could understand why they had trouble believing him, can't you? You really can, because we're all stupid Bedouins and that sort of thing, right? And then we should have intellectual and spiritual development along the last 2,000 years, but we're still believing that God needs a sacrifice, right? We're still stuck in that in our society, right? So we've not come that far, but now we've got the Urantia book. Think of it this way. Jesus being the last epical revelation of God to man during his time, right? And so, what is that coming across there?
It's a cat.
Camera there? Is there a cat there?
It's
Well,
a
that's
boat.
weird.
Oh, it's a fan. It looks like a fan.
No, it looked like a entity came across here.
Oh, it did.
Maybe it's our guardian angel. Okay, anyway, we're all on these different intellectual and spiritual development points, right? Think of human beings. We have people that are totally, literally living in the dark ages still, don't we, on this planet? Yet, and yet we still have people that are so intelligent, they can come up with machines and things that can change the way we live in our life, right? That's a different intellectual development. Now, what are they trying to do with the Urantia book? They're trying to raise our spiritual development up with our physical and intellectual development, right? So you can think of the Urantia revelation as a revelation to bring us up to date. Make sense? And that's what it's for.
Basically,
it's supposed to bring us up to date.
Bring us up physically to our intellectual, our conceived, our believed intellectual development and physical.
That's right. And physical development, right? To bring them all in together, right? And it says here that there are the creatures that inhabit all the local universes are on different levels of this progress. Make sense? So there's planets out there that are still beating their supper to death with a club, and there's civilizations out there that's learned how to manufacture the nutrition they need without having to eat anything hardly, right? So we're on all levels in between, okay? And each one of them, each local universe is on a different level. Now, what we have to remember is each of the local universes are separate from each other. So each of the local universes has a plan that's being run by their creator son and their local universe mother spirit, which is different than ours. Okay. So let me say it this way. If we have contact with extraterrestrial beings, they're going to be all on the same wavelength or the same concepts that we are. And why is that? Because all the beings we would come in contact with are all in what? Our local universe.
Our local universe.
Never
Right.
done.
Because that's, of Nebadon, right? Because they're all part of the in other words, they would have to be part of Nebadon to get to us in time, because there's no way for them to travel from another local universe to get here to be able to communicate with us and still be alive. Makes sense? Because of why? Because they're human beings. They're beings just like we are that has a limited lifespan. Even if they expanded their lifespan to thousands of years, you think they would be much different than us? Not in the concepts of learning, spiritual, and intellectual. Make sense? So what does that mean? You think we should be afraid of any other type of beings?
Depends on
Not
how
really.
advanced they are. I mean, how advanced, well,
If they're advanced,
how,
wouldn't it make sense?
it evolves
If
around
they're
how
advanced,
advanced.
Gary, wouldn't it make sense that they would be peace loving?
Yeah,
They would be past, they would be outside that warring mentality that we're still in this planet.
yeah, but it's a two-part thing. How peaceful are we?
That's the problem. We are the problem, not other civilizations. Look,
Afraid when we met one.
yeah, we,
You
Don't
know,
know what to do.
yeah, our reaction to fear is what?
fight
War.
or run.
A
Kill it
run,
or-
fight or run, fight or flight, right? Fight or flight
Mhm.
syndrome. That's what they call it. Our normal reaction is to either fight them or run away from them, right? And
Mhm.
that's what our government's mindset still is, because we can't get over warring with one another, right? Until we get out of that warring mindset and go to a spiritual based mindset, then we're always going to have problems, aren't we? Make sense? So how does spirituality fit in with evolution? Eventually, spirituality has to be the key thing about evolution, because without spirituality, we can't evolve to a point of being non-warring. Make sense?
Mhm.
What's the matter, sweetie? Yeah, I know. I know. Okay. I beat that one to death, right? Okay, let's go to the next one. Rodney, would you take that one? What's the matter? Do you want to go back?
Yes.
Yes.
So Urantia belongs to a local universe whose sovereign is the God-man of Nebadon, Jesus of Nazareth, and Michael of Salvington. And all of Michael's plans for this local universe were fully approved by the Paradise Trinity before he ever embarked upon the supreme adventure of space.
Okay, so before he even left, all this was all approved by the Paradise Trinity, which is true not only with Michael, but the other 699,000 creator sons. Right?
Roger, I had a question.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure we learned that before any creator son ventured out into a super universe to create, the very first, the original Michael did his sovereignty, correct?
No,
No.
not necessarily. Not necessarily. Let me tell you why, Rodney, because it's recorded that this, and you know, this is part of the mystery of the bestowals. But if you think about it this way, if the original Michael creator son is the eternal son, if that's an if, right? If the original Michael is the original son of God, the infinite son of God, then he could not have started his bestowal until after there was somebody coming from the 7 super universes into Havona for him to start the track of Havona.
Correct.
Makes sense?
But that's what I'm
So
getting at.
that means this. Yeah, that means that the 7 super universes, some of the Michaels, not all of them, but some of the Michaels had already gone out to the 7 super universes and started their process of creating their local universes before the infinite son started his. You see what I'm saying? Because
Correct.
there couldn't have been anybody to come up.
That's
Make
right.
sense?
Had to be.
Right?
I don't think they
Had to be.
explain that in the Urantia book, but
No.
there's no other way it could have happened.
See, the problem is this, Rodney. We think of things in a linear fashion, right?
Correct.
Everything in our life is a linear fashion. In reality, God doesn't have a linear fashion. Okay. If you think of the seven super universes, they're like this big oval that refreshes itself constantly. So to God the Father and God the Son, all these things could have happened simultaneously. In other words, the 7 super universes could have started development simultaneously as the eternal son started his thing, right?
Correct.
We don't know that that's
We
not the case. This is the only way they can explain it to us.
I
That makes
understand.
sense to us.
Okay.
Right.
You know, just
That's
thought
why
of
they
that.
call it that's why they call it the mystery of the bestowals, because it's beyond our human concept to grasp all of it.
I
Right.
understand.
You know, and that sounds like a cop-out, but it's really not. No matter how we try to do it, we cannot conceive of the mind of God, and we can't conceive of the mind of the Trinity. Their idea of reality is so far outside our reality, there's no bridging the gap. And that's why the creator sons come down to us, is help bridge that gap of great difference of reality, if you think about it.
Yeah.
Make sense? All right.
You know, if you think about it, if God was to create a picture and say he's standing in a blank area
Yeah.
and he goes to draw, he's going to draw a house here. Well, when he's drawing this house, he's also drawing the landscape behind him, off to the side, the hill the house sits on, or the valley,
It
the
all
heavens
happens at
above.
once. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just, so you might say it's the 5th dimension in a way.
You could. Yeah.
Right.
Well, that's why I keep saying the material, Urantia, and spiritual are different dimensions, aren't they? If you think about it, they really are. And there's not only those 3, because the spiritual dimension itself has at least 6 levels, we think 7, because we go through 6 levels of the spiritual dimension just to get through Havona, right? So if you think about it that way, there's multiple dimensions that go from each thing, and you can't see or conceive of the one that you can't see and experience, right? You can only experience the dimension you're in at the time. All right. it's really a mystery, but they brought this revelation to us to try to have us make a connection, right? Have us understand the missions of the Michael, what they really came for, the missions of Jesus, if you would. Jesus didn't come to save you from your sins. Jesus came because he was God and he wanted to reveal his Father, God the Father, right? And in doing that, you have to understand the relationship of sonship, right? So it's the fatherhood of God and the brotherhood of man, right? It's an amazing story, right? If you think about it. And I'm about out of time here. So are we good so far? Right?
Yeah.
I know I'm going a lot of different directions and trying to bring a lot into this, but this whole process is to understand what Jesus was about, why he came, what his mission was, and why he did what he did. And once you understand these things, when you read the account of Jesus in the Urantia book, it becomes not only a story that's alive, you become part of it, right?
Mhm.
You become part of that whole bestowal. Okay. All right. So let's say a little prayer and we'll quit for tonight. Rodney, would you like to close us in prayer tonight? Say a short one for us. And don't go anywhere, anybody. I still want to talk about what I want to share with you.
I'll
right.
pass tonight.
You'll pass? Gary, give us a little short one.
Okie dokie. Aren't you glad I'm only
Yeah.
5'10"? Okay.
Yeah. Make your
God,
voice,
thank you for
clear.
everything you've done for us. Keep opening our minds not only to your revelations, but to physical revelations that are coming due about us. Teach us how to interrelate to understand how everything that we don't understand is actually planned, and give us the insight to how you are doing this and how this all relates to us. And please give us the ability to believe deeper than we already believe. Amen.
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 Yeah.
And I want to thank all those that join us on YouTube and Vimeo and Facebook. And I want to make an announcement tonight. Many of you that come and watch the videos look for me to send out the videos the same night. And unfortunately, because of the technology changing and the way Zoom functions and processing the films, I can't get it out the same night. So I'm going to be sending it out the next morning from now on.
Mm.
Okay. Cause I wait up till 10, 11 o'clock at night, and I go to bed some nights at 9. So, I'm an old man, 68. So I need my sleep. So I will be putting the videos out the next morning. If you need to see it live right away, you can always go to my Facebook page, Dr. Roger Paul or Roger Paul DC on Facebook, and you can find it there live while we do the meetings. And the rest of them will be on Vimeo and YouTube the next day. So I want to let everybody know that. So let me shut down the Facebook for tonight, and then we will stop the recording. And we got a couple things to talk about.